Well, today, state police put out a plea for information in the cold case of Corrie Anderson. The Southern Tier mother has been missing for 10 years.
News 4's Erica Brecher shows how Anderson's disappearance is still on the minds of investigators and her family still hoping for closure.
It's been 10 years since Corrie Anderson went missing after she left a local car dealership that used to be right here in the city of Jamestown. A decade later, what happened next is still a mystery.
It's still sad when I think about Corrie and I were very, very close.
VICKI ACQUISTO, Corrie Anderson's mother, still lives near Mayville, not far from where her daughter disappeared in October 2008.
I think of some of the other people who went missing and their parents, have now have passed away. And I think of that about myself too. There's no set time for anybody.
Anderson, the 36-year-old mother of 3, was last seen leaving the former Lake County Dodge dealership on Washington Street in Jamestown. She missed picking up her son from school later that day. VICKI raised him from that day on.
I know before she went missing, and I don't know why she ever said this to me, she said, would you take care of Zachary? I have no idea. I had no idea why she said that. I just thought it was, she just wanted me to do that if something happened.
Days later, her car turned up abandoned in the town of Busti.
The person of interest in that case was her husband, and DNA in a case like that, there's less value when the reality is she was last seen driving her car, and he would have had his DNA in her vehicle because he owned it along with her.
Corrie and Ken Anderson had a rocky relationship. Before she went missing, Corrie had a restraining order against the man who was the father of her youngest child. Investigators cleared him due to a lack of evidence.
With cold cases, there's always that feeling of frustration that comes along with them because, many times you have a person of interest in mind and a lot of times you're left wanting evidence that would allow you to prosecute the case.
I have no proof that he did it. My heart tells me he did. I struggle with that, forgiving.
State police and volunteers organized group searches between 2008 and 2009, but Corrie Anderson was never found.
What does your heart tell you about where she is?
My heart, really, I think she's in heaven. I don't think she's here anymore, and it's my faith that gets me through. Without the Lord, I know I would be struggling.
The case was silent until 2.5 years ago when a tip brought investigators back to where Anderson's car was found. 2016 was Patrick Swanson's first year as Chautauqua County's acting district attorney.
When there's a tip that comes in, state police, they were ready to go with it. They called in a number of resources, including FBI and our forensic investigation team, which is a very unique unit for our county.
The reopening of old wounds was tough on Corrie's mom.
I will tell you, they found one of the shoe that was missing and her car keys. The reason it was more difficult is because it brought it all back and there were no answers.
Ironically and coincidentally, some 500 miles away, Ken Anderson was arrested in Kentucky that same year. In an eerily similar situation, his current wife at that time also went missing, but she was found alive. Ken Anderson was charged with raping, kidnapping, and holding her hostage at a motel.
The tip was not related to the arrest in Kentucky in any way. Just a tip that came in, and like I said, there were a lot of resources poured into investigating that tip.
10 years is still recent enough that there are still local beat cops and state troopers on the force who worked the case when Anderson first disappeared. Swanson says there is still an investigator assigned to the case.
If anybody comes across anything, please turn it in, because I know it's 10 years, but you just never know.
Erica Brecher, News 4.